Hi, welcome back to my channel. Sorry for the unintended absence. Life happened and we've all been there, I'm sure. But today's video is going to be spooky reads for spooky seasons. I have about 6 or 7 books here to go through, so let's get started. The first book I have is How to Make a Horror Movie and Survive. This is about Max, who's a horror director, but he's not really making the movies that he wants. And then there's Sally, who dreams of being a final girl, you know, the last girl in a slasher movie to survive. She meets him at a rap party and tries to impress him. Whether or not that works, that's in the book. I haven't read it yet. Max then discovers a camera that has a very real horror movie on it. And then by the time it's too late to escape danger, he's already dead set on He's already dead set on finishing the film. So this should be creepy and fun. Next is We Live Here Now by Sarah Pinborough. Emily and her husband move after she's nearly killed in an accident. They move to a place called Larkin Lodge, and then Emily starts to feel like some things are going wrong. There are old floorboards creaking, which, you know, could be the house settling. The fires are going out, books are falling off shelves. She feels a terrible presence up in a third floor bedroom, but her husband doesn't experience any of this. And in her post-sepsis condition, it can create hallucinations, so it's sort of an unreliable narrator that way, which is always fun to read because you never quite know what's going on. So naturally she thinks it's being haunted by someone who was murdered there. Next we have The Possession of Alba Diaz by Isabel Cañas. It takes place in 1765. Alba and her family flee to escape the plague, which, you know, probably a good idea. She starts having hallucinations and she's sleepwalking and she has like violent convulsions. And then there's Elias, who is haunted by a troubled past, as they are. And he moves to the New World to try and, you know, find fortune again, as they do. He tries to ignore her, but notices her deterioration. Seems to be the only one who notices her deterioration. And then the demon inside her starts craving more and more blood. So this will be a fun read, and I have to read it soon because it's a library book and it's kind of due back soon. Next is We Used to Live Here by Marcus Kleiwer. We're gonna go with that. Charlie and Eve flip houses, and then they come across that old house in a great neighborhood. When they're when in the midst of the reservations, a knock comes on the door, and it's this guy with his family, and he tells them he used to live there and can he, you know, show his kids around. And being a people pleaser, Eve says yes. Probably a mistake. Things start happening soon after, including the family's youngest going missing. And then suddenly there's a ghost in the basement, which, you know, that's creepy. Then Charlie goes missing and Eve loses her grip on reality. So again, we may have an unreliable narrator in the story. Don't know if it's the whole way through or just halfway or whatnot. Again, haven't read it yet, but I'm really looking forward to it. And then the visiting family is not picking up the clues that they should leave the house. They're not picking up what she's putting down. And then, you know, is something actually going on, or is she just hallucinating everything? Next is How to Survive a Horror Story by Mallory Arnold. There's this legendary horror author, Mortimer Queen, who dies. Not a spoiler, it's in the summary. And then a group of writers are invited to his will reading. And each person has some kind of connection back to Mortimer. which we find out as the story progresses. But when they get there, they are quickly told that, you know, they will be playing a game, which is sort of a deadly game. It's like a escape room type thing. They have to figure out the puzzles for each room before they can move on to the next room, and if they don't figure it out, the house takes one of them for its own. Whether that's to kill them or the house eats them, I'm not sure. But it should be interesting and gross. Next up is Carmilla by Sheridan LaFano. This actually inspired Dracula. It came out about 26 years before Dracula was published. Laura lives a solitary life with only her ailing father to keep her company. And then one night a carriage appears and it's carrying Carmilla. They strike up a friendship, which is great, but Carmilla becomes strange and volatile and she starts wandering at night. And then Laura is experiencing nightmares and finds herself growing weaker by the day. So, vampires, maybe? Especially if it inspired Dracula, that's my guess. And last but not least, we have Just Like Home by Sarah Gailey. This one I really enjoyed. The ending is what made me push the rating to a 4, I believe. I think I gave it a 4. Vera's mother tells her to come home, so she goes home and, you know, does what she says. But they've had a long estrangement, so it's a little awkward. She goes back to the home of her father, and her father happened to be a serial killer. So that's an interesting point of plot. And then they also have an artist who has moved into the guest house. And then notes start appearing around the house in her father's handwriting, and at first she blames the artist, but he's like, I didn't have anything to do with it. So she's wondering, you know, who is leaving these letters? Why are they leaving these letters? What's going on? And I don't want to say much more because I don't want to spoil the book, but the ending is what got me to really give it a higher rating. The beginning and middle, I was like, nah, it's like a 3, which is solid for me. That's not a bad rating at all. But having it be bumped up to like a 4, 4.5, whatever it was, is simply just from the end of the book, which again I loved. So that's what I have for now. Hopefully be able to get back to a regularly scheduled program. Hopefully I'll be doing another vlog soon. In the middle of reading a couple books right now. So yeah, I will see you guys later. Peace.